Good afternoon, Luke Kennedy. How are you today? How are things in Canyon City
Good,
today?
Alex. They're good. Yep. The weather is nice, which is a big deal as a golfer that I can finally just I can live the way that I want to live because
Yeah,
now I can go golfing whenever I want.
other than the quality of your golf game, you can live however you want to live.
Because that is actually very true. Yes. Correct.
Because you know what a good golfer I am, if you recall from Top Golf.
I think that's the only time I've ever seen you swing a golf club is
Yeah,
at, at
that's the
Top
most
Golf.
I've seen you laugh uncontrollably without. What's going on this week on the church calendar? Anything in particular?
I mean, it's pretty minor. I think Holy Week is a funny thing because for me, because growing up in the church as a kid, I think back in the or maybe late '90s, early 2000s, like the idea of non-denominational evangelical church doing liturgical things was kind of poo-pooed on, right? And
Yeah,
nowadays,
out
I
of
mean,
bounds.
yeah, nowadays our church is we're in the midst of we had a gathering last night, we have a gathering tonight, which it's Tuesday, it's Holy Tuesday. But then we'll have a Maundy Thursday gathering, we'll have a Good Friday gathering. So so much has shifted, and it has really shifted a lot of how I think about it. I mean, I always just kind of was like, there was Palm Sunday, and then maybe if you were like really religious, you went to a Good Friday, you found a Good Friday service, and then you went to church on Easter, and that was it,
Yeah.
right? And uh, nowadays, it's like for us at least, it's an all week thing. It really gets us focused towards Christ and the resurrection.
It seemed like the rise of evangelicalism in the mid 1900s was like so anti-liturgical,
Mm-hmm.
and here we are, 75 years later, and it feels like we've kind of overcome that extreme reaction against liturgy or against ritual. I
Yeah,
don't
one
know.
thing I've been processing through a lot has been the fact that the evangelical non-denominational stream of the faith has a pretty set liturgy. We just don't. We
Hmm.
just call it. We just. It's anti-liturgy.
Yeah,
And so it's actually really helpful to bring back some of the liturgy into what we do.
yeah,
Um,
because the real liturgy actually has some depth to it, as opposed to our shallow
exactly.
liturgy like music and sermons or whatever are
Or just what?
shallow. All
Yeah.
right, I'm going to ask you the same two questions that I ask strangers on the street. First one is, do you believe in life after death?
Mm. Yeah, well, that's an interesting way to put it. I think uh, I I've been I've been thinking about this
Did I
idea.
stump you on this one?
You
You
well
see, you
you
don't know
know
how
you
you
say
feel
life
about
after
this one?
death. So here's what I would say. I would say that that the Apostle Paul kind of hints at the idea that we might, if you're in Christ, you might not actually taste death. And so it's an
Ah,
interesting. So to say, do I believe in life after death? It's like, well, what does that mean? So does that mean that if I'm in Christ, what does it mean to die? It means, I think what I would say is, I believe that there is life after my body stops functioning.
okay. So you're getting super spiritual here and talking about how believers go from life to life, and it sounds like you're denying the process of dying to ourselves. That
Oh,
you're
yes.
bypassing sanctification is what I'm hearing you say.
Clearly, yes.
What is it? What's it going to look like? Life after death?
Going back to the Apostle Paul, I mean, I think he says something to the effect of, "Hey, like it'll be like in a flash, we'll be raised to new life, and our somehow our who we were on earth will be transferred in some way to this new thing, this new body that we'll have, and it'll be in a new reality, if you will." Um, I think a good analogy, because it's not one to one, obviously, but um, it's helpful to me. It's helpful to think about Earth or the life I'm living now and heaven with the analogy of like dimensional thinking. So I'm going from one dimension to another dimension. I don't think we can take astrophysics and then explain, going from dying to life, but it's a good analogy to say I'm going from one dimension and I'm going into a new dimension. Um, and that new dimension, I'll see differently, I'll smell differently,
Hmm.
I'll probably look different. I'll probably look a little differently. But somehow, uh, who I am as a person, especially what I would say is who I am in Christ, will transfer.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. I think of Dallas Willard, who let me just publicly acknowledge that you're the one that got me back into Willard in the mid-teens, and I remember you saying, "Hey, you should spend some time on Willard." And I think when I was taking that 6 week sabbatical, and so
Mm.
thank you for that. And yes, you do get full credit for that.
Thank you,
And
thank you.
everyone I know thanks you also because they get to hear about it all the time. I do remember you saying, "I'm so tired of hearing about Dallas Willard." A few years later, I do remember you saying something like that. But anyway, he made a comment that how for the person who's really grooving with the Lord, and he probably would have said something like someone who's really in Christ would pass away on their deathbed and not be aware of it for quite some time because they're just going from kingdom to kingdom, and how the new person in Christ is already so fully vibrant. But maybe it's different when we're talking about the final resurrected state as opposed to whatever intermediate state we're in between death and the second coming. It's all it's all very complicated.
It
Nobody
it
really.
it it is complicated, and really the only thing that we can, the best actual thing that we have to explain it for us is the resurrection of Jesus. But the concrete thing that I think as an Orthodox Christian you would stick to is to say, well, what happened with Jesus? Like we actually
Mhm.
have these accounts, four different accounts of Jesus being alive after death,
Mhm.
and he was Jesus, like it was Jesus, but he was different.